Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope you're all doing well today. Today I've got some amazing Dogman encounters to share with you. Before we get into these encounters, a couple links I'd like to share. First link is Tromic's lead delivery system, home of the original 458 and owned by Tony Remora, a true American. He designed an AR upper to be attached to your existing AR lower and blast 458 instead of 223 or 556. He designed this for our troops in the Middle East so they could stop truck bombs. Now, straight across the board, guys, a 458 is going to stop a truck, it's going to stop the Dogman. Tromic's link is in the description below, and please check out some of Tony's other amazing products. On to my links. As you know, I rely on my Patreon, my PayPal, and my merch to help this channel to continue to grow and go. Those links are in the description below. I also have a second channel for creepypastas, fanfiction, and scary voice acting. Stories that don't fit on this channel. Now, if that's anything that you're into, follow that link and give those stories a listen. You may just like what you hear. I also started a GoFundMe page to help raise some money for urbex, cryptid hunting, and ghost hunting equipment. I'm going to be starting to work on some action shots that I've done here and there. It's a little harder than I thought it was going to be, but I will have a video out soon for you guys. And with that, enough jibber jabber. Let's get on with these Dogman encounters, shall we? Today's first Dogman encounter. As a little girl, I visited my grandparents who owned property on LBL. I used to play in the woods every time I visited them. They lived on a gated hollow, and their house was nestled at the bottom of a hill, and the ridges came up on all sides of their home, except for the front side, which faced the lake. As a little girl one night, I got up out of bed to get a drink of water. My grandparents, being old, kept the heating on, plus the fire going at night, and tucked me in with a gazillion blankets. So I was hella thirsty. Once up, I heard howling sounds. I went to the back screen door and peered into the darkness. I saw up in the dark where the ridge sloped down into the hollow red eyes, more than one, 2 or 3, I'm not really sure, but definitely more than one. I felt like they were staring right at me, although the house was dark and there were no lights on inside or out. So I knew they couldn't have been actually seeing me, it just felt that way. Naturally, freaked out, thinking it was wolves, I ran into my grandparents' room. I tried to wake up my grandfather, and all I got was something along the lines of, "Sleep next to Grandma if you're afraid, it's nothing but coyotes," out of him. I did as I was told, but the next morning I tried to tell them both again my story, and they joked about Little Red Riding Hood and fairy tales. But it didn't feel like a fairy tale to me, nor did it feel like a bad dream or a child's active imagination. I swore for years on I really did see something on the ridge behind my grandparents' house. Every time I go back there now to visit my dad who lives there, I think about being young and how I never understood what I saw. Today's second encounter. I believed werewolves were fake until I saw one last summer. It was around dusk and I had settled in, but it was still light enough to see. All of a sudden, my friend busts in the front door yelling about something in the neighboring field. I decided to entertain him and followed him out to the field. We walked about a half a mile and didn't see anything, and I wanted to go back home, but he insisted. So I reluctantly followed, and just before we reached an old slaughtering house, we saw a rather large canine about 70 feet away. It was sitting on its haunches, and I thought it was just a big dog until it stood up on both legs and ran to the old slaughtering house. Both of us thought it was a good idea to head for the hills, so we ran back to my house. It followed us. By then it was dark, so we were about to retreat to my house and lock up, and then came the smell. So foul and terrible, I remember the terrible stench. It was only comparable to rotten human flesh. Just then, it ran in front of us about 30 feet away. I estimated its height to about 6 to 7.5 feet. We bolted in and stayed there for the rest of the night, but the dogs in the neighborhood would not stop barking. We went outside in the morning and the smell still lingered. The smell stayed for days, and on the third night around midnight, the sound of the window being forced open woke me up. I took a knife and explored and found the window pane had been completely forced without breaking the glass. After that, the smell disappeared and I haven't seen one since. There's no explanation for the animal and there was no evidence, so I didn't know what to do. I live near the LBL and people tell stories of the beast like the one I described, but those are just stories, right guys? Today's third encounter. I live in a small town called Marshall. Me and several of my buddies biked 15 miles out towards another town, Avalon. We were going to meet up with another friend. We picked them up and we were short a bike, so we put 2 people to a bike and headed out. There was 4 of us now. We went a different way back, and this area is full of deer, cornfields, and dense woods. It was a slow ride, and I heard something in the tree line next to the road to my left. A cornfield was on the other side of the tree line. I was looking into the dark at what I thought was a deer, but it couldn't have been a deer. It was much larger and seemed to come out of the tree line. It was snapping limbs like candles, and loud crackling and popping was enough to make most men pee themselves. Most of my life I'd been interested and pursued paranormal things, so my buddies were well aware of that. When I say run or get out of there, they take it seriously. I yelled, and I've never seen a fat kid, my best friend, ride a bike that fast in my life. We managed to get away to a well-lit area with several houses, and we were talking about what each of us had seen. It was universal throughout the group, a large creature on 2 legs that was on 4. Some of the group didn't see it until it came out of the tree line. We didn't know of the Michigan Dogman, and we were quite unnerved, and I drew my knife. I'm well known to carry a full-size military K-bar. We walked the bikes on our outsides, the people on the inside down the long road, surrounded in cornfields. The crop circulation landed on corn that year. We could hear multiple things just within the corn, and it was too dark to see. We got about a mile away, and we were turning a bend. There's an opening for tractors to my right that opened up to the cornfield. 3 things stared at us, 3 things tall enough to be out of the corn. Dark, reflective eyes stared back at us. I didn't alert my friends to this. I simply watched them and kept it to myself. No need to cause chaos. We got home and I did some Google searches on weird creatures in Michigan. I found the Gable film, but the one I saw was different from the one you guys may have seen. This one showed a man getting out of his truck. You can see his 8mm camera in the side mirror. Oddly enough, he was on the right side of the vehicle. He walks forward and then you get to see what the normal Gable film had. We decided to take our cameras and go out to the country and look for it. We wish we hadn't. We encountered 3 of them, tall, gray, and they circled us. We were trapped in a Catholic graveyard. I wasn't convinced, being the smart one that I am, or just really stupid. I left the group of 6. We recruited a cameraman, and I walked out the back gate. I enter the back half of the graveyard is surrounded by dense woods. I walked alone in the pitch blackness of the woods. What I heard still haunts me. All 3 of them came towards me, fast, loud, and rushing, but I didn't move, not an inch. They all stopped about 6 feet away, judging by the sound, and remained there. I turned and walked back into the graveyard. Several of my friends saw their eyes behind me, and one on the maintenance barn near the gate. Take it as you will, something is out there. Something does roam the woods of Michigan and northern Ohio and Indiana. I've taken many treks out with friends with cameras in attempt to capture footage. I've never been able to do so. Lighting always is too bad. The flash only makes it worse. 3 amazing Dogman encounters. Wow, guys, I really enjoyed all 3 of them. I want to apologize for the short upload. I've been feeling not really great lately, under the weather the last couple of days. I'm not going to get into it. As you knew, I didn't record anything yesterday, so I needed to put something out to you guys. Anyway, the first encounter, the girl knowing that something is in the LBL, and to this day still knows what she saw. The second encounter was just truly amazing. I really enjoyed that one. You're out in a field with your friend and boom, this dog is huge and all of a sudden stands up and starts coming at you. What do? You run. The last encounter, just simply amazing. I mean, this guy is obsessed, as you can tell. At the end, I mean, he's bound and determined to get some photographic evidence, and I hope he does for all of us, and I hope he remains safe doing so. Anyway, guys, I'm working on some amazing stuff for you guys, and I will have it out to you very soon. With that, another apology on the short upload, and I bid you farewell.